You might think you know Apocalypse, but here are 12 facts you may not know. Mutant kind's deadliest Darwinist. Apocalypse first appeared in full in 1986's X Factor number 6, in a story by Louise Simonson and Jackson Geiss, but made a cameo appearance in the last panel of X Factor number 5, where he was cloaked in shadow. In Apocalypse's first appearance, he is revealed to be the head of a group called the Alliance of Evil. Originally, the secret leader of this team was going to be shown to be Daredevil villain the Owl. However, the editor wanted a new villain who would be an A-level threat to X Factor, so incoming writer Louise Simonson created Apocalypse to fill that role. Despite first showing up in 1986, Apocalypse was soon retconned into having a role in earlier stories, including manipulating the living monolith into draining the energy of other superpowered beings, and giving superpowers to arms-dealing terrorist Moses Magnum. The entity who would become known as Apocalypse was first born over 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. He was allegedly the first being born with the X gene, making him Earth's first mutant. As a child, he is given the name En Sabah Nur, meaning the first one. Apocalypse's chief characteristic is his staunch belief in survival of the fittest, taking it to the extreme that the weak are deserving of death. Naturally, he considers himself the fittest of the fit, and often grants powers to others in order to test those he believes to be weak. Besides being incredibly long-lived and generally portrayed as powerful, Apocalypse's powers are pretty nebulous. He can manipulate the shape of his own body molecules into weapons or wings or jetpacks or whatever, and he's really strong and can fly and shoot lasers and apparently can control machines and sometimes has psychic powers, because why not? Apocalypse's immortality means that he has encountered a lot of notable people in his time. Besides constantly running into time-traveling villain Kang the Conqueror and the long-lived heroes the Eternals, Apocalypse also fought Thor back during Viking times and even encountered Dracula more than once. During the Victorian era, Apocalypse encountered a British scientist who taught him more about mutants. Apocalypse used technology left behind by the space gods known as the Celestials to transform the scientist into Mr. Sinister. Sinister fears Apocalypse's plans for conquest and begins an incredibly convoluted plan of genetic manipulation in order to stop him. The culmination of this plan is the baby of Cyclops and a clone of Jean Grey, who gets sick with a robot virus and so is sent to the 39th century to be cured. The Apocalypse of this time tries to implant his mind into this child, but only manages to steal a clone and is defeated anyway. This baby turns out to be Cable, and the clone turns out to be Strife. 90s comics were pretty crazy. Despite originating in ancient Egypt, Apocalypse uses a lot of biblical imagery as part of his gimmick. Perhaps most prominent among these are his 4 horsemen, 4 mutants or superhumans who help him in his goal of conquest. Notable characters who have variously filled the roles of death, war, pestilence, and famine include Archangel, Gambit, Wolverine, Hulk, Sunfire, and Polaris. Perhaps Apocalypse's greatest victory came about as a result of something he didn't even do. When the Mutant Legion went back in time to kill Magneto, he accidentally killed his own father, Professor X, which led to an alternate timeline in which Apocalypse awoke early and conquered the world, known as the Age of Apocalypse. Following the apparent death of Apocalypse after his consciousness has been reborn in a child's body, it is revealed that the X-Men ally Phantom X had created and raised a teenage clone of Apocalypse, training him to be good. This teenage version is enrolled into the X-Men school, where he is known as En Sabah Nur, aka Kid Apocalypse. That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Comics. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Comics Alliance for more comic facts, and check out comicsalliance.com for more comic awesomeness.